So thank you very much for your talk today. I was just wondering to start, could you explain the importance of European Union solidarity to Germany?
Thank you, Serena. European solidarity is and has always been in the core of German identity, of German foreign policy, of German engagement and perspective within Europe and outside Europe. I think every European country, every European Union country has understood or should understand that there are only two different kinds of European countries. Countries who know that they are small and other countries who don't yet know that they are small. Small in regard and in respect of all the tasks we have now in a global world, also tasks we have in these difficult, unprecedented COVID times, and therefore a sign of German solidarity is that we were one of the founding states of COVAX, of this vaccination institution, which has at its aim to vaccine as many people as possible in as many countries as possible outside of the European Union. So a multilateral approach, not a national approach, a solidarity approach. So Germany, as a founding country of this COVAX initiative, contributes 20% to the budget, and the European Union contributes 30% to the budget of COVAX, which is supposed to give vaccines to more than 150 million people in more than 140 countries by the end of May, and to have vaccinated more than 100 million jabs by the end of this year.
And of course we've got the negotiations going on at the moment between the European Union and New Zealand for the free trade agreement. What's the German perspective of that?
Well, first of all, we are happy and glad that these negotiations are taking place, that are taking place in an unprecedented speed, because, as you know, we have had already 8 or 9 negotiation rounds, and never ever the European Union has had in only 2 years so many negotiation rounds. So this is a sign and a proof of how important this is for us to have New Zealand as a like-minded country, like maybe no other country in this part of the world, to be in the family of the countries where the European Union has a free trade agreement. We have, as the European Union, free trade agreements with every member state of OECD except the United States, Australia and New Zealand. So it's high time for New Zealand to be part of the club, and we, as the German government, have always supported to have it done as quickly as possible in the not too narrow corridor and margin of compromises which have to be taken by both sides, because negotiation is always to find a compromise and a solution which is feasible and a success for both sides. So the longer the negotiation take, the later we can start it. So we hope under the mandate of this new old government in New Zealand, the free trade agreement will be concluded and will be signed and enter into force as quickly as possible, to the benefit of both sides.
And finally, you talked a lot today about changing perspectives. Has your time in New Zealand so far, since August 2019, changed your perspective?
From the very first day, I understood that New Zealand, which is from a European point of view, maybe, like we call it, at the end of the world, like Europe might be from the New Zealand perspective very far away, but the first change of perspective, somebody being transferred from Europe to New Zealand, is a new world map. A new world map away from the Atlantic-centered world map we grew up with and we have in our DNA, with a new world map with the big blue ocean in the middle of the world, the Pacific Island states in the center, and Australia and New Zealand in the middle of this new world map, which is as justified and as important and as correct as the other world map. And of course I have learned, and I know that many challenges of this modern world, especially climate change and climate change mitigation, is something we have very much in common with New Zealand and with the Pacific Island states. I'm non-resident ambassador to 6 Pacific Island states, and if those Pacific Island states, due to the rise of the ocean, of the sea level, have a problem, we have a problem at the rest of the world. Only a couple of days ago I had a meeting with representatives of the Antarctic Treaty, And we reiterated a message we should send, and we should have sent much earlier and from even much more higher level to the world. The Antarctic ice is melting. If the Antarctica would completely disappear, the sea level would raise 60 meters, 60, not 16 or 6, but 60. Then we would really have a great problem. So this is one important change of perspective, to have learned and to see, and to communicate back home how important the common work with New Zealand, Australia and the Pacific Island states is for climate change mitigation. The German government is very much engaged, and your government, the climate change minister, is as well.